Okay, Jake.
Hey, hello.
How it's going? You have a lot of time to see you.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Hello.
Man. Just a minute. Put in my earbuds. Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yep.
Hi, Wilkie.
Hello. How are you? I'm fine.
Yeah, me too. So, and Kalispera, Sue.
Kalispera.
Yeah. So how do you say hello in Chinese?
你好.
Ni hao.
Ni hao.
Yes. Right.
Yeah, okay. So promote Jim to panelist and Nuno Lopez and David.
Hi, Jim.
Hey guys.
Yeah, happy to see you again.
Hey, hello.
Hello to David.
Hi, David.
Jim.
Nuno. All right. So I'm waiting for Alan because he is the chair of the meeting. And he doesn't show up. What's that? So. Meanwhile, we can talk a bit informally. It's a recording, so take care of your words. And some more people. Blake is also coming. Sarah, Andrea.
Hey there.
Yeah, hello, kid. It's a long time no see, kid. Huh?
Yeah.
And Ellen is also there. Yeah. So Ellen Cooper is also there. Yeah. So because Ellen is there, I will leave the meeting to him. And I have to go in a few minutes. So I wish you a happy meeting. Because my brother is coming over. So. And
Right, have a good time.
He should arrive around 7. But you never know in Holland with traffic jams. So. Ellen, please go ahead.
Sorry. We have Jim here. Jim is going to speak about the Rchain process.
Okay. Do we want to start with that?
Sure. We have 4 items, and I think if we do about 10 or 15 minutes each, we should have time for everything. I'd like to just mention some people that aren't always here. Welcome, Deanna, Nuno, Veraculous, Zero. Actually, most people are always here, but I just want to recognize people. I can't read Greek. Is that Zero? Ian, hi, how are you? I assume that's Zero, and Will is here, and Nuno and Kit Blake. Kit Blake is going to be scribing. HJ had to leave. So Jim, would you like to take over and start the discussion of the conversion process?
Sure. At last week's debrief, Greg asked us to get some information about the distribution of accounts that hold ROC, so that we could determine the number of people that may suffer loss if we continue with the ROC to REV plan and evaluate the alternatives. And we just had a meeting. There's a ROC to REV channel in Discord where we've been discussing it. And we've been unable to get clear statistics currently. We know that there's approximately 8,300 accounts holding ROC today. We are sort of not in agreement as to how many of those might be on exchanges and subject to potential problems there. We're uncertain as to whether or not we'll be able to work with exchanges to make them good, and there's many different cases for different exchanges, and people who are keeping their ROC safe in multi-sig wallets or escrow contracts or vaults of some kind can potentially suffer loss. There seems to be indecisiveness. Some people feel that because the airdrop plan has been already decided, that we have to go along with it and take whatever action we can to make ROC good for as many people as we can. The people who we don't and reach as many people as we can, instruct them how to keep their ROC so that they will it will be included in the airdrop. And then various means try to make good for classes of users that did not hold their ROC in private wallets and but can be made whole after the fact. I created a spreadsheet just for saying what if conditions, and we have people at risk of loss, either because they didn't keep their ROC in a private wallet, maybe they never had an Ethereum wallet, they bought it on an exchange, or maybe they were uninformed about keeping in the wallet. And then we have the people after their inevitable dumping ROC, and we can estimate the number of people that would be affected by that, and it would be 1,000 people, whatever it is, we can look at and look at the number suffering. Okay, these are estimates are pretty much out of the air. It employs the principles of maximum entropy. If we have no information, all probabilities are, although we did tweak some of the numbers based on people feeling that we had enough information to know that 50%, that more than 50% of the people on exchanges could be made good. So we put 90% for that.
Jim?
I have to fix this, but in any case, this is, as we get more numbers, we'll know better how many rock holders will be effective and may suffer loss.
Jim, that's a super introduction. Are you trying to solicit some feedback here, or do you want to take over the meeting for another 5 minutes and then we'll move on to the next agenda item?
I would just say that, I encourage people to participate in the process, because at this point, we haven't met Greg's request that we account for the current rock holders yet. And so I don't know we can make a decision. Going over all the different schemes for how we might make some of the people good would take too much time to go over here.
I'd like to point out that we do have some individuals that are going to be diving into writing scripts to try to get actual numbers about the distribution of rock holders amongst these different categories. So once we have that information, we can make much more informed decisions.
Yes, the other part of it is reviewing a simple solution of allowing people to trade rocks for rev. Well, I guess there's some dispute as to how simple it is, but in any case, the trading rocks for rev solution will mean that rocks will be good, will still be good indefinitely as coupons that they can redeem for rev.
And everybody should know there are tremendous technical challenges to getting that implemented by the conversion. So it sounds easy verbally, but the technical people that have considered this are skeptical that it could be done in time and safely. So there's more backstory to this as well.
Jonathan, are you working at all with Jim on this particular issue, number 760? Because it sounds like you guys have good information to give each other.
Yeah, I just started participating this morning. And
Thank you.
We had a 100-minute or so call.
Thank you, Jonathan. Are there any other ideas about rock rev conversion? Questions? Okay.
I would encourage people to participate in the document. On the trade solution. Also, I guess Vlad has been highly critical of the airdrop, and hoping to get some feedback from him and some other people that can judge how difficult this is. People look at the whole cross-blockchain transaction process, which can be very complex, whereas a simple trade for rocks for revs is not nearly so complex, but requires trusted gateways that enable.
Okay. If there's any more comments, we're going once, going twice. Okay, let's move on to, David, are you prepared to talk about the Africa meetup that you guys had? I'd open the floor up to that if you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready to talk about it now.
All right, would you do that?
Okay, okay, hello guys. Yeah, on Saturday, we had the much anticipated first Rchain meetup here in Africa, Nigeria to be specific. And it was awesome. I guess a lot of us have the pictures on Discord and Telegram. So it was an awesome experience, really. We had Rchain introduce new developers to how to use Bash, and the videos will be available, I think, by weekend. We're still working on editing them, and by the weekend or early next week. But every other thing, it went perfectly. As an offshoot of the meetup, now we currently have a developers team here, and we'll be meeting once a week because of our schedules. We can't meet more than once, but I wanted us to be able to meet more than once, but at the end of the day, we agreed that we'll be meeting once a week. And after that, we get to do assignments and various projects, get to collaborate on things, and probably join the general house on Tuesday morning for node testing. I think we're going to start from next week because I was the only one who partook, who was part of the node testing from here in Nigeria. But from next week, Tuesday, I think a lot more hands are going to be part of the node testing. So we're having there are a lot of persons that have been able to come abreast with the language. Yeah, sorry about that. There are also a lot of persons that are very enthusiastic. It was very awesome. I think it's not just, we didn't just have a meetup, but I think we started a movement, an Rchain movement here, because now we're having a lot of persons that are interested. Like I spoke about in the previous meeting, a software company who would like to partner with us. They run an accelerator every for 10 months in a year, and they take different courses on different programming languages, and they are interested in having a Roland course as part of their programming because they were present for the meetup and they really bought into the idea of Rchain. Does anyone have something to say? Okay, I was thinking I was hearing some background sound. So they were very much interested. You could Google up the company, Tribe Nigeria. They were very much interested and they want to introduce Roland into their curriculum. So I think that's an awesome opportunity to have more developers from Nigeria here. I think we've also gotten some Python developers in the team that could contribute to the development program that Rchain is offering, and a whole lot of other things, conference in Berlin. I think so many great things Rchain has started here in Africa, and we're really coming on board. We're trying to be at the same pace in Europe are moving, and also people in China. We're making sure that we're not going to be left behind on any updates, on any developments. It's been awesome so far. It wasn't just a meetup we had, but it was a movement that has started on Rchain. So thank you. Does anyone have any questions or any comments they would like to make?
Yeah, first of all, congratulations on the meetup. It looks like it was very well attended, and it sounds like people were very enthusiastic. My second question is more one about, I know that China is very, very interested in resource extraction and whatnot in Africa and parts of Asia. Are Chinese blockchain companies forming meetups like NEM and NEO and so forth in Africa?
blockchain conferences in Nigeria and Africa as a whole, but I have not really heard of the companies you mentioned. But I know there's several of them. There are several meetups that have been held this year on several conferences, blockchain conferences, but I've not really heard of the companies you called, but I'll still do more research and more work on that.
Okay, yeah, I'm just interested because I know that the Chinese government recently reversed their stance on blockchain development, but they're beginning to try to exclude non-Chinese companies, non-Chinese blockchain companies.
Okay.
Okay. Jonathan and David, I have a specific request. You gave quite a bit of information about the meetup. Could you put that in some kind of document with links to photographs and that kind of stuff, a report about the meetup, and stick a link into the meeting agenda minutes so that everybody who might not have heard all the words that you said because of connection or whatever. Also, we've talked about possibly your funding a better connection so that you guys can work with a slightly better infrastructure.
Okay.
I don't want to say anything specific about that, but I'm just throwing that out there for right now.
Okay. So,
and Jonathan, same thing. In the meeting minutes, all of your some of the words or comments might have been missed. So please edit the meeting minutes and make sure that what you said is properly represented. Thanks, Jonathan.
Okay. So before that, I would like to say, Jonathan, maybe you could give me we could talk after this meeting so I could have links on how to reach out to those companies, because we're looking at partnering with a lot of blockchain, or getting in touch with a lot of blockchain companies, both here in Africa and any part of the world that will be able to collaborate with to build projects on Rchain and Rchain. So,
David, I have one comment on that as well. Diane from the Collaborative Learning Group, I'll send you his Discord. They have a group that is analyzing different blockchain companies. And I think he might also be interested and be able to provide some information to what you and Jonathan are discussing now when you follow up on it.
Okay, Alan, okay. Can you paste that into the, or paste the contact information into the chat? And David, per what Alan is saying, we're actually doing a competitive intelligence process right now at Rchain to figure out how and why Rchain is better than other projects and what the various weaknesses are. So we'll be sharing that with the community.
So Jonathan, I pasted the into the minute notes because I can't paste into
sure. Okay, thank you.
the Zoom.
Okay. Okay.
But it's Diane, and it may be the same competitive intelligence project, but if it's not, you might want to speak to him as well about your competitive intelligence project and his.
Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, I'm done.
All right. So does anyone have any other comments or any questions they would like to ask concerning our Rchain Africa meetup?
Are you guys planning on having another one in the near future? Or what's the cadence of these meetups going to be?
Okay. So now I think most of our channels will be, most of our energies rather, will be channeled towards bringing in more developers to our team. So for now, we don't have a plan of having, of doing any other meetup between now and July, but we'll be having a normal work study weekly and see how that works. Then when we come up with a project, I think we're going to come up with a project before July ending. I think we're going to have a meetup where we could present it and get more developers that could collaborate with us, and then we could have another meetup. But for the meetup, we're going to be having regular meetups. We've not decided how it's going to be yet, whether it will be monthly, it will be bi-monthly. We're not very sure of the timing, but yes, the meetup is regular. It's not a one-time thing. Then you asked another question. Can you repeat the second question you asked?
Oh, I think that was all the same question, was just the how frequently did you have any planning on that?
Okay.
And then are most of the participants from Nigeria? Are you inviting other African participants to come to this?
Okay, anyone from Africa, in fact, anyone from any part of the world is invited to join us. So we're only doing what our resources and our capacity can carry at the moment. But as we continue to do our best, as we continue to try to reach out to people, our capacity grows, and from there we could begin to have meetups in different parts of Africa. But it's dependent on our capacities, dependent on our the resources that is available to us.
Okay, thanks, David.
All right. So, Alan, you wanted to say?
Yeah. First of all, Jason, did you want to say something? Okay. If not, I'll ask my question.
No, not at all.
Jason, were you trying to say something?
He said not at all.
No.
Okay. So, David, the next topic is going to be issue 755, which is the collaborative learning project, which is in parallel to Greg's design of computational calculi. And you and I had spoken a little bit about creating a team. Is that one of the possibilities for the Rchain group that you have to follow along with 7.5? Okay, great.
Yes,
so if you could post some more team members or links or whatever you're doing in issue 755, that would be very helpful, I think, for people to see what you're doing. And also, I encourage you to get into. I did a lot of edits on the issue. There are more links. Jake's doing a wonderful job. Jake and Joshie Orndorff on the collaborative learning GitHub repo. So please look at that and work with all of them together. Work group to work group, or as it were.
Okay. So So does anyone have any other thing to say? Okay, then now before I drop the mic, the stage, and we move on to the next thing, I would just like to chip in a little bit about the limitations or challenges we're currently facing now. Very bandwidth or internet issue. So the internet connectivity or network connectivity is not so it's not so wonderful here. So I believe if we could put heads together to find a solution to that, and also the power issues, electricity, if we could put heads together to find a solution to both the electricity issues we're facing here as a team and the network issues, I think effectiveness is going to skyrocket. So I think that's all I have to say for now.
Does anybody have any comments on that, Deanna, or ideas for, or David, maybe you should come up with a proposal for what you can do with the internet providers and so on there that would give you this added infrastructure capacity. Okay.
All right.
Okay, if there are no more comments on the Africa meetup, I'd like to move on to issue number 771, which is a voting system, which actually came out of last week's RAM meeting. So at last week's RAM meeting, there was a discussion of the current voting system, whether it's fair, whether it's inclusive, and so on. And David and I did some brainstorming, or actually a lot of people, mostly on the call. I like to think of it as collective intelligence. We came up with a voting scheme that's based on a very old tradition of elders. So in many places of the world, people have respect for elders. In Rchain, there's tremendous respect for the board members, who are some of the founding members of Rchain and have a lot of experience, have a lot of knowledge and wisdom. We are designing a voting system where elders are weighted much more highly than other members. The voting system is participatory in that everyone will be able to vote. Every member will be able to vote. Right now, we're just talking about specifically the budgeting process. So within the bounty system, people propose initiatives. David talked about one, the initiative for meetups in Africa and related initiatives. Meta has an initiative for development. There's the 755 computational calculi initiative. And we know in advance what we think those initiatives might be worth, but they're not really voted on. The rewards are not voted on until the issues are completed and the work product can be seen. And then we have a budget vote. In this elders voting system, every member will have a vote of at least weight 1. More experienced people will have, for every 5 or 10 people with a vote 1, there'll be one more experienced person that has a vote with a weight of 10. For every 5 or 10 of those, there'll be a person with a weight of 100, and on up through our board members who will have the most weight. So in principle, if a review is needed of a particular issue, then people with more experience will be able to review it and vote on it. Elders will also have an extended voting period. So they'll have 8 days longer than a member with weight 1 to discuss any issues that there might be. And we expect that in normal circumstances, most of the voting will not be contentious because of the discussion that will precede the voting. And most of the voting will just be handled by members with weight 1 or possibly weight 10. Occasionally, there will be issues that are contentious, and those might require review by members with higher weights all the way up to the board. So they have that ability if and when it's necessary. Let me just stop here and see what kinds of questions there are about the system and how it addresses the questions that, the discussion that we all had last week that this is coming out of.
So this is a little bit different of some guides which are waiting for an issues, or how it's going? Can you be more specific?
I'm sorry, I didn't know who said it or what the question was. Maybe I can read. I'm going to read Kit's transcript. So Nikita's asked.
Yeah. My GitHub name is Kelendio. So the question is, can you be more specific how the elder system works? Because we have guides right now who are waiting for some specific issues, and which is the difference between your system, which you're saying elder system?
So the guides are with the project from start to finish. The guide, it's a responsibility of the guide to make sure that the project is well thought out, meets some needs of the cooperative, and it's the responsibility of the guide to communicate all of that. In the end, there's going to be a vote on how to reward a project. So the dollar amount, there may be a suggested amount posted within the issue, but that's not final until there's a vote on it. We have a system currently, which is called the trust metric system, where it's also a weighted system. but it's a little bit more ad hoc and not everybody is able to vote. That was one of the main issues that came out of the last RAM meeting. In this particular structure, well, just you can read the details in issue 771.
Yeah, I have read them. That's why I'm asking about this right now, because yeah, we had the problem that everybody done issues and they didn't get paid because of the trust metrics. So we want to change right now to elder systems. So that's my question. Who will have the more voids like elder?
Yeah. Let's pause and discuss that. There's not a fixed answer at the moment. The thinking is that all of the membership will have a vote of one. There are 1,500 or 2,000 members. In addition to that, there are approximately 200 active members, Rchain active members, and they'll probably get a vote of 10. And then among the active members, there are some that are more experienced. A lot of them are guides or working in the system in some way, and they will likely get a vote of 100. And I think that with the current numbers, we probably won't need any more levels other than level of 1,000, and probably those will be mostly members of our board. Who have been here absolutely the longest. They have the greatest visibility. They know what they have a longer viewpoint than most of the rest of us. So they will be the most highly weighted voters in this system.
Okay, thank you for answer.
Okay, more questions?
Alan, I have a question, and forgive me since I haven't been participating in these meetings before, so I don't have the same sort of history that you guys do. It was my understanding that the Rchain board had approved some new process back in April that included having a task approval committee and a whole new different way of doing the approvals on the bounty system. Where are we with that? Do you know?
So what has been happening is that there have been various attempts to implement that task approval committee. This, in fact, probably could be considered an alternate approach. We haven't tried it yet. Our aim is to have a working version on June 25th that will give members 1 week to vote on one particular issue, which is our dog food issue, which is the reward that we will get for this voting system. So we're dog fooding our own voting system, and that may or may not implement the intent of the board resolution that took place on April 6th. Does that answer your question, Deanna?
It does. Have you been in conference with the board as far as what you guys are doing as far as this work to see if this is in alignment with what they were thinking of, or where are they in helping?
So the person on the board who's closest to us is HJ, and we've been in very, very close contact with HJ. We've been in less close contact with other members of the board, and basically, the communication has been, we're providing an initiative, and the board will come to a decision as to whether this initiative meets their intent and solves the issues that they started pointing out in April. There was concern, for instance, in April about two things. One was outright fraud, and another issue that the board had was I'd like to phrase it as the quality of the work that's being done within the bounty system. So we've been addressing those in various ways. There's a fairly detailed report. Maybe somebody can post the issue number for the report of budgeting for April and May. our budgeting process has gotten much more transparent. It's always been transparent in the sense that the data was there, but for practical transparency, you need just better tools for accessing. So now you can read the summaries of bounty system budgets by month. You can see, you can get aggregated data on who received rewards and so forth and so on. So on the transparency field, we think we've made a lot of progress. In terms of aligning our bounty system projects with our cooperative goals, we've introduced this thing we call the label guides. And guides are people that have some experience and they're more familiar with the thinking throughout our cooperative on what would be valuable. And it's their role to interface between the actual team and the cooperative as a whole so that we can ensure that the alignment is there. And frankly, that's actually more important than the voting system. The voting system will only act to finalize what the thinking has been for the cooperative throughout the life of the project. So we don't want there to be surprises. We want the lead guides to be in touch with the membership, and voting will be open from the very beginning of a project. So if people think that it's a badly conceived project, that it's not going to ever be worthwhile, they can vote early and share their opinions. And at the same time, they'll be able to change their vote up until the close of voting.
Okay. Jim wants to say something, but I just wanted to point out one more thing before I pass it over to him is, I guess I don't want you guys to go too far down the pike of creating this voting system if this isn't something that the rest of the board members is feeling like it was the direction that they were planning on taking with kind of I don't want to say reworking the bounty system, but trying to make some other guidelines in there to improve the kind of quality of the bounties that were coming in. So I guess that would be my only caution, is that you're really working with only one board member. It would be good to get some feedback from other ones before you keep going down this path.
Okay, so
we have gotten feedback from Greg and Kenny.
Okay.
That they want an accounting of the bounty system. There's no intention to end it. I guess based on that accounting or pending the results of that accounting. And to just clarify some points about the label guides being responsible for a topic. For example, I'm a label guide on governance and operations. Whether it's translations or whatever, there's label guides associated with that process. And the trust matrix, to me, doesn't seem very different from the elders mechanism, except that, how you tweak the parameters. Essentially, we certify people come in to the co-op as observers, and then they get certified as apprentices, journeymen, and masters by other members and up to their level of trust. There are seed members, and these seed members correspond to the committee that that has been established by the request from the board, and they're creating and it's a very attack-resistant trust metric that's being used, that's well documented and accepted as a mechanism that is attack-resistant.
Deanna, does that answer your question? I want to add one thing to what Jim said. I agree with Jim that it's similar to the trust metric system. The biggest difference is that this system is universal. Everybody will have a vote. And it's also inclusive of our board members. So our board members will have highly weighted votes. And in our current trust metric system, neither the board nor the general membership have direct voting capability.
Okay, thanks for the explanation.
Let me point out that there's nothing in the trust metric system that says that observers can't have some power. It's just that currently defined, our mandate was that well, no, it's currently defined. The vote they get is 0, although they can vote, and so teams can specify what they feel the budget should be and how they feel it should be distributed among them, but that needs to be verified by guides or other members that have a trust rating.
So Jim, thank you for the clarification. I think the level of detail is probably a little more than what we should do in this meeting, but I would encourage Deanna and Jim and everyone else to post questions or discussion right in issue 771, because yeah, you can post links and all sorts of information, and that would be very helpful. Yeah, okay. So are there any more questions about that? Let's wrap that up with more questions and then go on to 755.
Alan?
Yes.
How many votes are required in the elders voting system?
That's a good question. I would go with a minimum of our classical number of 3, but I would expect that with this new system that's more accessible, that there will always be more than 3 votes anyway.
Okay, okay.
More questions? Okay, if there's no more questions, I'd like to move on to issue 755, which is concurrent groups working with the design of computational calculi workshop that's being hosted by Greg. Originally, Will was going to be here, but his connection also has some infrastructure issues. One of the people that's been most active originally was attracted by 755 and now is just directly consuming through Jake Gilberg's collaborative learning GitHub site, directly consuming the course materials, has been very, very active. If I could, is there anyone here that wants to talk to that, or should I just give a brief summary and then we'll be done with the meeting because we want to end at 10:50 or so?
Hello, Alan?
Yes.
On issue 755, the computational design by Greg.
Yes.
Me and my team, we were trying to, you were trying to like make because there's some more computational calculus, and I'm an engineering student. So we're not too familiar with computational designs. So me and my team were trying to get more information.
Yes. So Nanso, I don't mean to cut you short. Yes, can you hear me? Okay, Nanso, I don't mean to cut you short. Please post your name as either a team member or a team leader or a team.
Yes, Alan.
Please post directly into issue 755 And there's a great deal of explanation in issue 755 about how to participate. And I began some transcriptions of some of the videos. I'm asking people to help with those transcriptions and, you know, to annotate those transcriptions to include links that are referred to and the identification of speakers and so forth and so on. And I also wrote an essay, my own version of why I think the design of computational calculi workshop is important. So please comment on all of those. And if there are things that are not described well in the issue, please make a comment around the issue and ask for more information. And then we'll try to get the information for you.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you. More questions? I would encourage everybody. Yes.
Just one comment. I have been watching the videos on YouTube, and I highly recommend them to anybody who wants to really understand the foundations of Rchain and Rchain in particular.
Yeah, so let me just amplify Jonathan's comment. This is a funny workshop in the following sense. It's a workshop that's it's directed at members of our cooperative and in fact, everyone from every level. For people who are not familiar with computational technology, you have to read between the lines, and I hope that people will put up annotations in the transcript and so forth that can just give a very high overview of what's going on. For people that are very technical, there are challenging exercises. So Greg has been designing this workshop to address all the levels of people that have more or less familiarity with the technology. And it's important because we have a diverse membership. We have members that have backgrounds in city of Seattle. We have members that are, you know, studying computer science, but don't have much, you know, are still learning and maybe the best candidates for this kind of workshop. We have members that are interested in governance and whatnot. But by watching the videos, by writing annotations, writing essays, writing viewpoints that explain at all sorts of different levels, we're going to be able to create a common culture. And that's very, very, very important to the Rchain community, in my opinion.
So what you're saying is we need to get education about these videos of Greg and start to, how it's called, to market it outside to the world, yeah?
Not even to market it, just to be able to speak with each other. So that when you speak to a developer, if your background is in graphics production, you can speak to a developer and know something about what words they're going to use and what they're doing. And hopefully there'll be a lot of information in other directions as well. If you look at the meetup site that David is putting up for the meetups in Nigeria, you'll get some sense of what the conditions are, who the people are, what their aspirations are. It's becoming familiar with each other. It's, I guess the right word is cooperation at scale. So we're after cooperation at scale, and that's what we're all trying to achieve.
Okay, thanks for the answer.
Okay, are there any more questions? I'm going to go once, twice, and then we'll conclude this meeting a few minutes before the hour. Questions once?
Okay, hello. Hello, I have a question.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm late. I had other things to do, and I just closed now from an event. But my question is now, I want to join David and other Irish African members in giving a tutorial guide for onboarding Irish Sri Lankan developers in Africa. But I want to be clear on the difference between Irish Space and Rolang, the differences and what they do.
Okay, I have a suggestion. Why don't you post that question at the bottom of issue 755, the computational calculi, which is neither RSpace nor Rolang, but that might be a good place where members can give you some feedback. And if that's not, if that doesn't work well, then maybe we need to create an issue around it or approach it in some other way.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
We can discuss it at the next RAM meeting.
But in brief, RSpace is the storage layer aspect of the Rchain network, and Rolang is the programming language that will be used for smart contracts, and ultimately the Rchain platform will be built upon.
Okay, are you saying that RSpace is more like a database structure for storing data?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Okay.
That's what
okay.
Yeah, and it's based on LMDB. It's based on LMDB.
Okay, I'm clear on that now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thanks, Jonathan. And thanks, Valentine. And I'm going to, well, I guess we do going once, going twice. Thank you for yielding the time, and we'll see you next week.
Okay. It's not finished.
What did they tell you now?
No, I asked the question.
I think 8 days away, so this meeting won't end. But in 5 minutes, the debrief starts. So now's the time to do the needful.